So Reasonable Camp, you say there that you hate the trope of there's always something bigger. That's why you hate the first ones. You were fine with just the Titans. There is a problem with that argument that, oh, why should there always be something bigger? Let this just be the big thing. Fuck you. Blizzard. The problem with that argument is that it is incredibly tough to keep a story going when you only have one power level that is considered to be the quote-unquote max power level. Because the inherent stupidity is sort of built into the genre. And it is almost always a race to the top or a race to the bottom, regardless of what you do. Time is almost every RPG's greatest enemy. For good reason. The whole purpose behind an RPG, one of the core pillars of an RPG, is progression. This idea that I must feel stronger today than what I was yesterday, and I will be stronger tomorrow than I am today. This is almost fundamentally necessary for an RPG to work. Dark Angel, thanks for the $10, dude. Really appreciate that, bro. Thank you. You guys are far too kind with all of these donations. I really appreciate it.
Hail Lord Accolonn, the Emperor protect and keep you. Wow, lower nice.
I really appreciate it, bro. Maybe the Emperor protect you. The Emperor protects. KDS still stands, brother. I really appreciate it. All right. You have perpetual progression as you need in order for it to be an RPG, and we all know the dangers of removing perpetual progression. We've seen it over the last 3 expansions. The game starts to feel incredibly tedious when there is no progression. When you start over and you almost feel weaker at the beginning of every single expansion, this really pisses us off as players, right? When shit like this happen. Mac, thanks for the 5, dude. Really appreciate it. Love you too, bro. Thank you. So if you only have the Titans and they're your max level power creature, let's say you give it a decade or maybe 2 decades. But at some point, your characters will reach that upper echelon of power, right? At some point, they must get to this powerful Titan entity that they fight. Now, you could probably say, well, Accolonn, we could artificially extend that forever by just creating more powerful beings, but simply moving the power level of these Titans up. And that would be great, but then you would have to keep the Titans as vague as fucking possible. So there must be so little known about the Titans. You could do that with Elune. Blizzard can move the power of Elune as much as they want, as often as they want, and not a single one of us will complain, because the truth is not a single one of us have a clue how powerful Elune is to begin with. It creates its own frustrations, much like all of us are frustrated with the fact that we know so little about Elune. So it kind of throws you into all different directions insofar as, well, what exactly is my story supposed to be? Where exactly am I supposed to go with this story? So I would say the problem, and I truly believe this, the problem isn't that Blizzard went out of their way to design newer and greater and perhaps even more terrifying threats or power levels within World of Warcraft. And I don't think that's a problem anywhere. And if you need evidence of that not being a problem, look at Warhammer. In the Warhammer universe, there is almost always a threat larger than whatever threat is the current largest threat. The reason players don't mind that is whenever Warhammer or Games Workshop, whenever they release a new power, they make sure to explain that power in a satisfactory manner. They give the player a reason to believe in this quote unquote stronger power, and to understand that the strongest power or the stronger power is currently more powerful, and here is why. The problem that Blizzard had, and this really is Shadowlands that did this, they didn't give players enough of a run up to this new power level. So you can almost look at it as you guys know those walls in what's the fucking show called? It's a show where people run on obstacle courses for like a time limit, and there's a big buzzer thing that they have to hit. There's this giant ramp, and if they go up this ramp and they grab the top and they get up, they hit the red buzzer, and it's like, oh, you fucking won. Not Wipeout. That's the funny one. I like Wipeout. Yeah, it's a Ninja Warrior. That's the one. Yes, the Ninja Warrior shit, right? So, as you guys can tell, I'm very big into sports. You run up that ramp, and that's sort of what you should look at new power levels as, right? It is that sort of run up. Now, what happened in Shadowlands is Blizzard never provided players with, not Takeshi's Castle, but I love that one too. That shit is funny as fuck. But anyways, Blizzard never provided players with the run-up. The ramp was never there. Blizzard said, okay, here's the power level, and then skip, here's the new power level. So the player was sort of stuck on this level, having to look up and being like, well, I don't understand how we got there. How am I supposed to get there? You haven't given me any run-up or ramp towards this new power level. That's the problem. It is entirely a Blizzard-created fault. And this could be from multiple sources. There could be multiple reasons for this. It might be that, they switched out Alex Frigiabi mid-story due to the shit that he did. And now you had a different writing team having to take over, and they weren't quite sure what the future of the story was supposed to be. So they kind of went with their gut and decided to change the story because they weren't entirely sure what the story was actually meant to be, right? Lloyd, by the way, thank you so much for renewing, brother. Welcome officially now to the DJ Nation. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. So there's like, it could be that the user just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, right? And he's just not a good writer. It could be that they were really rushed in Shadowlands, and so the story couldn't really come to fruition. Or it could just be that we completely misunderstood the story, and that, if we did a little bit more like due diligence and we put a little bit more effort into it, we could have understood the story, and maybe we could have even loved the story. The answer is I don't know why, but I do know that I don't see the ramp, and it's this absence of a ramp that makes the power level unbelievable. But that is on Blizzard. That's not a problem with power. You can have as much power and as many power levels as you want in a story, as long as those power levels are well explained and make sense. That's really all you need. I hope that answers the question.